Well, I think that one of the things is that being a teacher involves is figuring out with every single child you come across what is good about them. You don't have to do that with grown-ups. If there's somebody you don't like, you just move on and they don't have to be part of your life. But as a teacher, it was my job to educate every child in my classroom. And it's impossible to feel the same way about every child I come across. So I learned from some master teachers before me and the ones that I worked with how to find and bring out those wonderful qualities in a student and explore those, pay attention to those, even if they were contrary to how I felt. We were talking about how to put it into language for parents to understand. I had a student um, who was stealing,
A thief.
and I had to figure out how, in a parent-teacher conference, to get that across to them. How do you call someone's 5-year-old a thief? Because they are a child, but there's still $20 missing from my purse. And that practice really helped me. How do I get the message across? How do I make the message acceptable? It's sort of what I'm trying to do. Alli and I try to do with our characters. It's hard to read a book with a whole bunch of characters you don't like. I mean, there's got to be something to grab you as a reader, something to keep you there in the story. And finding that nugget, even about characters that are sort of like, oh my gosh, this person is, kind of like Jared Jones, boastful and full of themselves. I don't usually hang around with those kind of people. How do I still make him likable in some way? How do I convince the reader to look for something likable in him? And I think that teaching practice helps me with that character development.
Plus, we made him really good looking. So I think Asha gets nervous if I don't call her for more than 48 hours.
Something is happening in that brain that I need to flesh it out before it gets clogged up.
So in one weekend, I wrote the proposal for Boss Lady. And I just knew in my gut, this was a great story. I just knew it. I think the elements that made it great in my mind is that, as we've done before, but it was really specific here, it was very multi-generational, with Sylvia Eisenberg as the 88-year-old Jewish woman befriending a young, struggling Afro-Puerto Rican American woman. That's just not an intersection you would regularly come across and is unique. So that unique lens. Asha and I felt like we had done the school thing and done it well because we know it. And in my mind, I'm like, the other place outside of school where humanity is just bustling is an airport. And I knew the arc of our heroine and how she was going to get to her own feeling of knowing that she too was a boss lady. And I saw the whole book in that 48 hours. And for the first time, we also brought in an international character. And I knew that was a good mix. So I think in that weekend between Sylvia Eisenberg and Antonio Arroyo and Krish and Zuena and Simon, the soon-to-be ex-husband, and Ash, the love interest, it's just that cast of characters clicked. And I knew it. And I will say that was potentially my biggest boss lady moment, because I basically said, Asha, we're writing this book.
Definitely loved the opportunity for us to explore a voice that both of us are intimately familiar with, but we may not present as to whomever may want to put us in a box, a checked box of racial identity. I have family members who look from Alli's, having the same features as Alli, to those darker than me. And so having racial identity didn't necessarily mean skin color when I was growing up. Um, and having an Afro Puerto Rican experience, half of my family is Puerto Rican, um, getting that out and adding sort of some legitimacy to writing a bit outside of your voice was very important to me. I'm able and accepted to do it with characters like Sylvia Eisenberg because I have Alli with me. Allie's able to do it with characters like Tony Arroyo or Josie or our other characters because she has me with her. But this is a chance for us to write outside of what we might check on our Census Bureau forms. And I know we did a good job because we both have intimate knowledge of Tony's world. And her world is not only influenced by her race, it's also influenced by her education, by her passion, by her curiosity, by her devotion to family, by the relationship with her mother, who Alli and I both have relationships with our moms that are very similar. We're both daddy's girls. We can spin all of our own personal experiences in addition to the ones that we helped foster and raise through the thousands of families we came across while we were teachers, and create this very different cast of characters. And we're hoping that, the cancel culture catches up to that ability, and that it is not an attempt to appropriate anyone's culture, but it is certainly one done to appreciate
And
someone else's
celebrate.
and to celebrate and to share the joys of, and to show everybody, hey, if you don't have a Jewish friend, you need to go get one. Okay, you got to go get one because you can open your world up. If you don't have a Puerto Rican friend, you need to go out there and see what the world has to offer in terms of differences of experiences. And I trust Alli's ability to write outside of her own personal voice the way she trusts me, and together we will, talk with anyone and discuss it with anyone who has a difficulty with our meeting this challenge.